My new manager is someone I slept with years ago, and he doesn't know we have a child. This story has a brand new update a year later. It was posted in r/ask-a-manager on October 16th, 2023. The backstory. I went back to university in my late 20s to do my PhD and shared an office with a few other students for many years. One of the students, Jacob, completed his thesis and was moving back to his home country, so we all went out for congratulatory/farewell drinks. One thing led to another, and Jacob and I spent the night together. A few weeks later, I realized I was pregnant, and I had no way to contact Jacob. His university email and mobile number had been deactivated since he'd left the university in the country. I didn't need anything from him and was fine to raise the child alone, but I thought he had a right to know. I Googled him a few times over the years, but I never found him. This last week, our department head emailed everyone to introduce and welcome our new manager, Jacob, with a photo and a blurb about his education and work history, so I know for sure it's him. The night we spent together changed my life because it made me a parent, so I have thought about Jacob from time to time when my daughter asks about her dad, or I notice a genetic trait she didn't get from me. However, I doubt Jacob has given that night a second thought. I have no idea whether he will have any concerns about being my manager given our history, or whether I'm making a bigger deal out of this than I should. For what it's worth, in my years of sharing an office with Jacob, he seemed easygoing and practical. In our company, it is common for everyone in the department to reply all to these introduction emails and introduce themselves, welcome the newcomer aboard, and explain how their role will interact with theirs. I'm not sure if my email should note that Jacob and I studied together years ago as a way to get that out in the open, or should I email him individually and offer to have a discussion about keeping our history out of the workplace if he thinks it's needed? I'd appreciate any suggestions for language that indicates I'm not concerned and will be completely professional. And then, in direct contradiction to that, I'd also appreciate a script for a separate email saying, can we please meet outside of work because I need to tell you something important about our history. So I can tell him about his daughter. If you or any commenters think I shouldn't tell him, or I should let him settle into his new country and his new job first, I would definitely take that on board. Damn, this is fucking messy. Oh my God. Here's what I'm thinking, chat. Number one, the only thing I'm 100% confident about is you should not keep it secret from this guy any longer that you had his child. Maybe, especially because it seems like you're cool with it anyways, you need to make it very clear, like, I'm doing fine taking care of this kid alone. Like, you didn't know, you haven't known. If you want to continue operating like that, fine. A little bit of the coward's way out, in my opinion, but still, fine. I think you should definitely get that out as soon as possible now that you have contact info. Honestly, y'all, I think getting in contact with him first is the most important part. And like letting him know about the kid, because this just sounds messy. Like, this is an HR department's worst nightmare. I don't think it gets much worse than learning, oh, we hired a guy who had a one-night stand with an employee that we've had here for probably years. And on top of that, her kid is this guy's kid and he had no idea. Can you imagine being a entry-level HR worker coming in and hearing that shit? Yeah, to be honest, I think the separate email needs to come first. I think this is something he should know before he fully commits to a job. That's all I can really say, though. I don't have a template for her. I don't have any other advice other than good luck. I think we should keep reading on this one because I don't think any of us are qualified to answer this question. Okay, so it looks like somebody responded to OP and the response is really important here. It looks like it's like from a blog or something. So let me fucking blind you guys with this white screen real quick. Oh my goodness. This is what is professionally referred to as a real clusterfuck. The issue isn't what you're making too big a deal out of. You're not making a big enough deal out of it. It's a really big deal. I'm less concerned about the one night together than I am about the fact that you share a child and that he doesn't know that yet. Normally, the night together would give me some pause too, since he's your manager and that can complicate things, even if you're both scrupulously professional about it. But that's vastly overshadowed by the shared child. Jacob cannot possibly be assumed by any objective observer to be able to manage you objectively or credibly or fairly when you have a child together. Your employer almost certainly wouldn't have hired him to manage if they'd been aware of the situation, which is no one's fault. Jacob didn't know and doesn't know. Your company didn't know, and you had no way of knowing he was under consideration. But here you all are, One of you is almost certainly going to need to change jobs. Until that can happen, the best solution would be for you to report to someone other than Jacob. But how feasible that is depends on things I don't know, like the nature of your jobs. I strongly recommend doing one and possibly two things before you do anything else. One, definitely talk to a lawyer, and ideally, talk to a therapist too. The lawyer because of potential legal ramifications that you want to be prepared for. How will you respond if Jacob wants shared custody? What if your employer tries to push you out? Both of those could end up being non-issues, but the potential ramifications are significant enough that I want you going in prepared and with help lined up, and the therapist because the situation is serious enough that some professional guidance will help. Not trying to shit on her because I don't think a therapist would necessarily hurt. Do I think that there are a lot of therapists out there that are uniquely qualified to give good advice on a situation like this? Not necessarily. I'm imagining if I'm a therapist and someone comes to me with this, I'm like, damn, I don't think it would hurt necessarily. I think the therapist is after. Like, who knows, chap? Maybe this ends all positive and Jacob's like, you're the love of my life. I couldn't stop thinking about you since the night that we had together. And oh, we have a kid. I've always wanted one. Like, this is my chance. Happily ever after. Boom, bam. That would be pretty fucking sick. Maybe it does end very poorly. And that's, I think, when you go and get a therapist. Oh my God. Can you imagine being that therapist, chat? I think if I'm the therapist, I need therapy after hearing about that shit. Imagine it's your first day as a therapist. You roll up and you're like, wow, I can't wait to help clients really sort out the complicated issues that are going on in their life. And then someone walks in and is like, yeah, so I slept with this guy, couldn't get his contact info, pregnant, and now he's my manager and I don't know how to tell him or navigate the complexities of having your manager be your boss when you have a kid together, but he doesn't know and you had a one-night stand. Immediately quitting my job. Like, OP replied to it in a comment. The extent to which I tried to find Jacob wasn't relevant to my question, so I didn't include the efforts I went to. For the commenters who are curious, understandably, I really did try when I first found out I was pregnant. I asked the other people we shared an office with, but no one had any information. We were students who shared an office and sometimes went to the uni bar together. We never spent any time together outside of uni. I asked Jacob's thesis supervisor, but it was Christmas/Australian summer here, so he was on leave for 2 months. When he got back, he gave me the address on Jacob's file, which of course, the Australian address he didn't live at anymore. The uni had a next of kin Australian contact number on file for his aunt, but no one ever answered it when I rang. Jacob is Chinese with a very common surname, and Jacob is just the name he used in my country. I don't know his actual given name, so attempts to find the correct Mr. Wong in a country where they don't use Google or Facebook went nowhere. I searched for the recent publications about Jacob's thesis topic and found a paper with Jacob Wong as one of the authors. I contacted the corresponding author and asked for Jacob's email, but they never responded. By this point, I had to give up because I was so sick with hyperemesis gravidarum and needed to focus on my baby's health. Oh, interesting. I didn't really read this article feeling like she was really going after OP. Oh, wait, maybe this is what they were referring to. What OP was responding to wasn't the actual response from the post, but this pinned comment from the person that wrote it saying, there's a lot of debate below about how hard the letter writer must have looked for the man, but we have no way of settling that, and as many people below have pointed out, it can be harder than you think in some cases, especially when you're looking for someone in a different country. And it doesn't matter now regardless, because what's done is done. But assuming she did genuinely look, a page full of people doubting her is not helpful. Please stick to advice for the situation she faces now. Thank you. Also, people were looking for it. The LW commented with more info here. Okay, I'm guessing LW is like OP. That felt like a pointless hiatus. I don't know, maybe she could have done more, but also maybe she didn't want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it sounded like OP was perfectly fine with raising this kid on their own. Should Jacob know? Yeah, but should she hire a private investigator while she's pregnant and trying to like get through college and grow this baby inside of her and then push said baby out of her and then take care of said baby? Like, I don't know. I don't really blame her. Honestly, like, I am so ungodly curious where this is going. Let's read the update. Update number 1, June 11th, 2024, 8 months later. Thank you for answering my letter. You were right. It was a really big deal. I was viewing the Jacob as my manager problem from his perspective. Until I told him otherwise, it was just a simple one-night stand over a decade ago, and it didn't seem like a huge problem. I hated and appreciated the reality check. I regret reading the comments, but thank you also for moderating them as quickly as you did. A lot happened in a short space of time. Thankfully, I already had a therapist. First, I spoke to my union rep who said, say nothing, but call us if HR tries to set up a meeting with you. Staying silent and having Jacob independently declare the prior relationship when he arrived would have been problematic because I'd still end up in the same position and I would have lied by omission. Our HR team can be gossipy and they know the age of my half-Chinese daughter, so I needed to have as much control as possible over the disclosure. I spoke to an employment lawyer who reviewed our policies and, at his suggestion, I wrote an email to HR declaring a prior relationship with Jacob. And then I was immediately pushed out. Even if you have all the legal support in the world, you can't prevent someone from doing something illegal. You just have recourse afterwards. In a meeting with my lawyer, the union rep, HR, and a member of the senior management team, I was asked to resign. When I said no, wait, hold the fuck on. You're telling me OP was there first. And not only did you have the audacity to say you're the one that has to go, but you want her to resign? Girl, drop the company name. We don't fuck with that company. When I said no, they insisted on a statutory declaration about the relationship with Jacob, stating what happened, when it happened, how many times it happened, in parentheses, 2 question marks, and who initiated it, another parentheses with 2 question marks. Y'all, chat, I mean, it sounds like OP lives in Australia. I know we have maybe one person in chat right now who's from Australia. Can they ask that? Asking what happened specifically? Like what? When it happened might make sense. How many times it happened? That's fucking crazy. That has to be illegal. I also said no to that. We ended the meeting with each side agreeing to think about possible solutions. The company's solution was to start messing with my pay, my benefits, my swipe card access to my office, my computer login, and my email/calendar account. They spread rumors about me, and I heard coworkers whispering that I'd had an affair with a manager. They sent me for a random drug test at a time when I was scheduled for an important meeting with clients. They canceled accommodation that had been booked for upcoming travel, which I only found out because I was getting paranoid and called the hotel. I hope and pray that she is documenting all of this and keeping evidence because, girl, get your fucking bag, queen. Sue this company one time and you and your daughter are set for life. I can't describe how awful it feels to know that someone with this kind of power over your job is devoting their time and energy to thinking of ways to screw with you. Every day, I was going into work wondering what was waiting for me, and it was wearing me down fast. The advice from the union rep was to go back in time and follow their first piece of advice or just keep documenting everything as we prepared to take legal action. The lawyer estimated that it would take at least a year to get any kind of resolution, and I didn't even want the job anymore. By this point, I wasn't sleeping much and I had cried a few times at work. I was beginning to crack and we were only just getting started. So I resigned. I wish I'd held up better under the pressure, but it was all just too much with the looming deadline of Jacob's start date at our office and whatever way HR was going to drag him into this. I'm lucky that I can take my time looking for a new job, so I've had some space to process everything. Damn. I mean, I get it. I totally get it, but like, I really wanted her to like stick it to them and sue them for everything. Outside of the work stuff, I spoke with a family lawyer who outlined all the possible ways this situation could go and what the most likely outcomes were. Basically, my daughter is old enough that what she wants would get heavily weighed by court if it came to that. I've spoken to my daughter many times about her father. I told her what I knew about him and that I'd tried to contact him. I've offered her to see a therapist if she wanted to talk about it with someone who wasn't me. She's always said, thanks, but no thanks. The family lawyer helped me write out a letter which I left for Jacob. I told him about his daughter, said I wasn't trying to get anything from him, and gave him the contact details of my lawyer. After a few weeks of me freaking out that HR had somehow intercepted the letter, he emailed my lawyer. He was the easygoing and practical Jacob I remembered. He was still processing it, but he said he wasn't going to take any legal steps. He offered us his family medical history. He apologized if I resigned because of him. And he said he would like to meet our daughter if she's interested. She also has some siblings. I told her all this. She said she's happy that she has her father's contact info, but she doesn't want to meet him right now. She's of the view that having him in our lives would cause unwanted disruption, and she doesn't even know about the work clusterfuck. Well, I'm glad Jacob wasn't as shitty as the company was. I guess OP never gave any ages or anything like that. For some reason, I was thinking like, oh yeah, this is like within 5 years, but it sounds like it's within more like 10 to maybe 15 years of time between. It's so funny, y'all. I was just talking to my friend who she was like, I work so hard at my job and I don't know why. Unless you're really passionate about what you do, treat your job as just like a means to get income for yourself and sustain your life. Because at the end of the day, those corporate companies, all they fucking care about are themselves. New update from this year. That is update 2, June 9th, 2025, 1 year later from the last update. My daughter changed her mind and has been in contact with Jacob. It's still a bit awkward between them, but they have some hobbies in common, which they've bonded over. My daughter also seems very excited to have some siblings who adore their cool new big sister. I know some people were wondering why my old company reacted the way they did. For reasons I can't go into, my work gets scrutinized by outside authorities, and my manager's role is primarily a quality control one. Any suggestion that my manager had not checked my work impartially enough due to a personal relationship could have been career-ending for both of us. Additionally, the work I do is in a very specialist field, and there are only a handful of people in the country who do it. Another company in a similar field had initially approached Jacob, who has had an amazing career by the sounds of it, to start a new department at their company doing the same thing. My old company paid a buttload of money to lure him over so that he wouldn't be in direct competition for clients and employees. Boo. I guarantee a little bit of misogyny had to do with it too. Let's not just blame it on them tossing money at Jacob. All of this meant that I couldn't report to Jacob. There was no other manager I could report to, and the company couldn't risk him going back to their competitor. Between the two of us, Jacob was the better asset to keep and the worst threat to lose. Okay, so even if that's the case, chat, you don't fucking bully your longtime employee to get them to leave. You offer them a nice, cushy severance package. I'm not excusing the behavior of my old company, but there was logic to it. I'm still angry about the way they treated me and how helpless I felt, but that is slowly fading over time. I had trouble finding a new job. Financially, we were okay, so I was being picky. For example, wanting to stay in my current city. After almost a year out of work, Jacob told me he'd been approached by the first company who still wanted him to start their new department. He was happy at my old company, but he offered to take the new role if I wanted to try to get my old job back. I would never ask him to do that, and I also never want to go anywhere near that company again, so I said no. Okay, guys, honestly, Jacob sounds like a huge W. Guy sounds cool, but yeah, don't go back to that shitty old company. Jacob turned the other company down, but gave them my name. It's a step up from where I was, but they interviewed me, and I got the job. I've been here about 6 months and it's enjoyable so far. Plus, I've never procreated with anyone in my chain of command, so it seems like a good place to work. I've hired one of my former coworkers, plus 2 recent graduates from my alma mater who are bright, motivated, and quickly getting up to speed. Unlike my old company, we don't have a lengthy wait list for our services yet. So a few clients have started coming to us instead of them. I am delighted that I'm becoming the very threat my old company was trying to avoid when they pushed me out. Bro, nothing's more motivating than sticking it to the company that you used to work for. Like, bro, I'm OP. I'm going after all their clients. I'm going above and beyond the Call of Duty to steal every single client that they ever have until the day I get put 6 feet under, bro. I need another update in like a year that's like, yeah, we put the old company out of fucking business. Damn, really wish you would have been able to sue them though, because fuck that company.